On a fight gearing up, really, between France and the European Commission. This is over the 2015 budget, isn't it?
That's right. It's getting a lot of attention in the French press. Let's start by looking at the front page of Le Figaro that points out that Brussels is preparing to reject France's 2015 budget unless Paris comes up with 8 billion euros in spending cuts or extra income. France has 1 month or else it will face financial sanctions. So you can see Le Figaro is talking about what's, setting up to be a major clash over the deficit and a confrontation that will be a test for the new European Commission. But in its editorial, Le Figaro says this slap on the wrist is France's own fault. We've seen this coming for months, says Le Figaro. The government can't blame the dire economic situation or selfish Berlin or the rigid European technocrats. The government, really, it's its own fault because it's been systematically breaking its promises. This is what Le Figaro says in its editorial. The truth is, nobody at the European Commission is convinced by France's posture. After all, France did sign these binding treaties and made these solemn commitments. It needs to live up to its responsibility, according to Le Figaro.
Left-wing press rather more critical of the European Commission for threatening to sanction France on this.
That's right, specifically the European commissioners. This is very interesting. You can read about it in L'Humanité, the communist paper. It says that these new European commissioners aren't completely neutral, rather they're under the influence. Under the influence of what, you might ask? Well, according to L'Humanité, they're all neoliberal, confirmed social democrats. Essentially, they're all from the same capitalist pedigree. And according to L'Humanité, lobby groups in the financial world are really what's pulling the strings here. And it takes a closer look at certain commissioners in particular. For instance, the Spaniard Miguel Arias-Canete, he's been named Climate Action and Energy Commissioner. Well, L'Humanité says this is quite hypocritical because he used to run a major petrol company. Also, you've got Jonathan Hill. He was named Financial Stability Commissioner when he used to be a lobbyist at the city in London. And finally, according to L'Humanité, this is the most hypocritical, the president-elect of the European Commission is Jean-Claude Juncker. He used to be Prime Minister of Luxembourg, and Luxembourg, L'Humanité reminds us, is a tax haven.
OK, well, Flo mentioned the city there. Prime Minister Manuel Valls was there yesterday, City of London, of course, defending his socialist government's pro-democracy turn. That's right. He used his refrain of the day, which is, "My government is pro-business." You can read about it in Le Parisien. It was really a charm offensive for the French Prime Minister. You can see here it says that Valls sells France to the city. He boasted about the merits of his pro-business reforms and called for more flexibility in the labor market. And one idea that he put on his list of economic plans was the idea of Sunday trading here in France. Very controversial. Very controversial, yeah, exactly. Now, moving on to French politics now. Shock here. Former President Nicolas Sarkozy's comeback could be thwarted by legal trouble. Really,
That's
Flo?
right. Well, this is according to Le Monde. Yeah. He could be directly threatened by the Big Malion scandal. The Big Malion scandal is, of course, the major political scandal of the day. It's rocking the opposition UMP party. Just to remind you, it centers around allegedly fake invoices for Sarkozy's 2012 failed re-election campaign. Several UMP heavyweights, including people very close to Sarkozy, have been detained by police in connection with this affair. Sarkozy himself has been arrested for this. Now, what investigators are trying to find out is how much did Sarkozy actually know, or did he know anything at all about this illegal campaign financing? It's going to be a juicy story we're going to keep hearing about, I'm sure.
I think we will. Not the only story either. Not the only legal trouble either,
right.
Is it?
Another day, another legal probe for Nicolas Sarkozy. You can read about it in Le Parisien. Now, according to Le Parisien, a preliminary investigation has been launched into another aspect of the financing of his failed 2012 re-election bid. It's a little bit complicated, but this probe is looking into whether Sarkozy should have footed the bill for the financial penalties paid by his UMP party. So just to remind you what this is all about, after the election, France's electoral financing watchdog refused to validate Sarkozy's campaign accounts. Basically, it ruled that Sarkozy's campaign had breached the 22.5 million ceiling on campaign spending, and therefore it ordered Sarkozy and his UMP party to pay a very hefty fine worth more than 510,000 euros. So with the party's financing in shambles, Sarkozy spearheaded a fundraising drive. They called it the Sarkothon here in France. Basically, they asked UMP card-carrying members to, well, basically
give money,
bail out the UMP. It worked, but basically what these investigators are trying to find out is whether this was a breach of trust and whether Sarkozy should have paid from his own pocket.
What would we do if we didn't have Flo Villeneuve to keep explaining these legal problems to us? Flo with the French papers on France 24. Coming up, we've got lots of kissing for you in today.